Everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is the second part of a two-part series, I guess. It's my pleasure now that I'm going to get to introduce you to Mariah from Mariah Monetize. And if you guys haven't seen her channel and seen the other content that we did together, go to her channel and check it out. She is amazing. We like to spotlight entrepreneurs on the island of Puerto Rico, and Mariah has a really cool story. And so we're going to dig into some stuff about a car rental business, the blockchain. I just love your sort of how you got started with sweepstakes and all of that stuff. And then we'll get into the Puerto Rico stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was 15 and my parents said no to like everything I asked them to buy for me. So I started winning concert tickets on the radio station.
Oh my.
And then flipping them, I mean, they cost me nothing, and then selling them on Craigslist. And so I did that during my high school years. And then once I graduated from high school, I went to college and I started doing online sweepstakes. So grocery stores, trips to the Grammys, trips to any NFL game I would want to.
Wow.
Free gas for a year, free taquitos for a year, free Oreos for a year, cars, $10,000 prizes. So I went to school. I was studying business with a concentration in strategy and entrepreneurship. And studying in classes was cutting into my winnings because
Getting in the way of winning contests.
Yeah. So I was like, this is a waste of time. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to take my savings, because at that time I had won 4 cars and I had saved about $100,000.
Wow.
And I asked my parents to co-sign. I really wanted to buy a home for about $150,000 to $170,000. I wanted my parents to co-sign. They thought it was like the worst, riskiest thing of all time. And so I instead took that and I started a food truck business.
Mm-hmm.
So I started selling funnel cakes and corn dogs at my local fairs and festivals. I realized that it was going to be really tough to scale. It was something that I kind of wanted to get out of California. I started investing in Bitcoin at the same time as well. So I sold my food truck business in California, and then that's what led me to Puerto Rico.
Wow. I mean, so I don't know if anybody's got a cooler story than that. I love the part about the Oreos. I would be like a 300-pound guy if I got a year's supply of Oreos, though. How did you hear about the idea to come to Puerto Rico?
I want to say I came across a post on Steemit from Sean King. I don't know if you know who that is.
I know Sean King.
Yeah,
sure.
Sean is a great guy. He did this great long post on his perspective of being a CPA and a lawyer, and I'm like, wow, this sounds so legit. It was very believable. It gave me like the confidence of like, oh, this is a real thing, because I would mention Act 2022 to people and they would just think automatically that can't be true.
That can't be true.
It's too good to be true.
And so you came about 5 years ago.
Oh my gosh, today's my 5-year anniversary.
Wow, okay.
So 5-year anniversary of being here on the island, and then 2-year anniversary actually for my car rental business, which is pretty funny how they landed on the same day.
So how, really?
Yeah.
So 3 years in, you start a car rental business.
Yes.
To what? Because there was a car shortage? I mean, what kind of was the idea there? And how do you partner with people like us who have Airbnbs, or are you doing Turo? How does the car rental business work?
Yeah, so I mean, my roommate and I, we were out exploring the island. We love to adventure out and do like day trips on the island. So we were trying to get down to the beach. We completely took out the bottom of our Honda Civic.
Oh no.
And we're sitting at dinner afterwards and we're like, hey, let's try an experiment. Like, let's purchase a Jeep. It's kind of both of like a dream car for ours. It works well on the island. We're also seeing this massive shortage on vehicles because many big car rental companies sold off a huge part of their fleets during the pandemic to just cover overhead. And I was having, friends ask me that had family in town to like rent my car for, a Fiat 500 that I won on The Price is Right for $75 a day. And it just seemed like a huge opportunity. So that week we went out car shopping and we set out to buy 1 Jeep. We ended up buying 2 Jeeps and filling just this gap in the market. And we also wanted to bring the component of a much smoother and more positive car rental experience, because my first 2 years here on the island, I didn't have a vehicle. I spent a lot of time renting cars.
Oh.
And it was always a rough experience. And for me, I I really want people to come to the island and have a smooth, positive experience during their travels here, and no hidden fees, and just something that was an ethical business transaction, it felt like. And so, yeah, we expanded our fleet. We still have a pretty small fleet. We have 7 vehicles, and we have kind of grown the business through Facebook groups, which have been free to advertise in,
Yeah.
and just word of mouth. So it's been a really fun experiment that had turned into an actual business, which is cool. I must say, though, when it comes to the car rental business, it's extremely volatile. It's like, okay, I got into Bitcoin, volatile. Got into the car rental business, volatile.
I bet winning sweepstakes was a dream.
It really was. I would come home, there'd be like 5 packages of random things that I had won from different companies, and you never knew what you were going to get. They just would randomly send you things.
That's so cool.
It was really awesome. So, sometimes I do searches on Expedia to see what the car rental market's like, and before taxes and fees, a rental's $1 a day. And then other days it's 250. I've seen $800 a day.
Wow.
Actually, that's something we're doing, is reaching out to more Airbnb hosts, giving them a 10% kickback on any customers that they send our way.
I would love to participate with you and
Yeah.
figure out how we can, I don't know, put a QR code or put it out on, we've got a handful of Airbnbs. We've got a small guest house in Luquillo. And so maybe we could
Yeah,
participate with you on that. And
absolutely.
we get like all the time, people are coming in and asking, where do we rent a car?
Puerto Rico, it's really necessary, I believe, to have a car and to truly experience this place and get out and explore,
Yeah.
out of the city and everything.
Do you get to use any of the tax incentives for this business that Puerto Rico offers? Or is this just a business that you do and you pay ordinary income like everybody?
We tried to meet up with a lawyer. That didn't really go so well. And it got to the point where we were kind of told, like, no, we don't know if there is still a route to make it that way. And we, at the same time, missed out on the Young Entrepreneurs Act, because that has to be a new
A
business.
new business.
And we had already established the business.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I'm not sure if we can potentially go back and try for the tourism, but we did not have any luck there.
You're still able to do the young entrepreneur business if you start a new business?
Correct.
So, and we say this on the channel a lot, and I'll just say it again. When you're trying to use the young entrepreneurs, or you're trying to do the export services, or have it hospitality, or invest in an opportunity zone, you must set it up ahead of time, right? Like, so you have to identify what you're going to do and jump through all of the hoops, or you get told you don't qualify, and that's a bummer.
Yes.
So just keep that in mind, guys. There's great incentives that are here on the island, and you can take advantage of them, but you need to get yourself a good lawyer and set everything up properly. Otherwise, it just won't happen. It'll still be worth it, I think. Would you say it's still a profitable business? And it's
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It was just definitely a lesson learned.
Yeah.
And it's something that I communicate with people as well. If
Yeah.
you're going to take the route of young entrepreneurs, make sure that's the step number 1.
Yeah. And guys, young entrepreneurs means that if you're younger than 35 years old, you can make $500,000 tax free. It's pretty much that's it. There are some businesses that don't qualify, so you need to be sure of what you're starting and set it up ahead of time. And it's for everybody. This is for the island of Puerto Rico. Just got to be young. I just missed it, and that's a bummer. So I want to talk about this blockchain stuff because it's really something that's cool on the island. We have a really big kind of presence of this group of people that are investing in it and that are using it to build things. And I think you're sort of in the know. And so maybe you could talk to our channel where we're mostly real estate centric. Tell us about what's going on with the cycle of blockchain, because I think we've been in a downturn and maybe we're all about to get rich.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping for. Except I want one last pullback before Bitcoin takes off.
You think so?
I mean, I'm on the sidelines, which is something that I thought I would never say.
Really?
But I did sell off my Bitcoin a few months ago, and I am looking to get back in. Many people see Bitcoin within this 4-year cycle based around the halving. And it's, the halving is going to be happening next year. Some people think it's going to happen in March, April. It's kind of a moving target within, I would say, several weeks. It's hard to kind of justify another bull run. I think there could be easily another black swan event. We're seeing the banking crisis play out, and I'm definitely hesitant, to say that this time will be like all of the previous market cycles.
Yeah.
But I do think that, Bitcoin will have the super cycle that many people talk about where it has a massive run. We're still seeing a ton of correlation with Bitcoin with traditional stocks.
Yeah.
And it definitely that correlation needs to separate, I think, before we see the super cycle come into play.
So if you don't know what she's talking about with the halving, basically what happens is about every 4 years, the miners, the people who are figuring out how to get the Bitcoin, their rewards get chopped in half. And that's about to happen again, you're saying, in a year. And typically what's happened up to this point, and I think it's happened 3 times, is that kind of right after that or sometime after that, everything kind of moonshots, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And so there are people that are saying that it's about to happen again, and there are people that say what you're saying, that maybe it's never going to happen again. Do you have any other coins that you like besides Bitcoin, or is it Bitcoin or die?
I've gone through several market cycles at this point, and I went through the phase which a lot of people, that's kind of their step one into crypto. They think, okay, Bitcoin's too expensive, I'm going to buy cheaper altcoins. So
Mm-hmm.
I had this portfolio that was like 50 different coins, and it turned into just a headache to manage. You're always going to all coins will typically always fall back more percentage wise than Bitcoin will.
Mm-hmm.
And typically when, Bitcoin on the next cycle around is making an all-time high, these altcoins still are nowhere near their all-time high. I don't really even pay attention much from the price perspective of altcoins. I also think that we're in a time where the SEC could deem them as securities, which
Yep.
could totally throw a wrench into everything. When it comes to the Black Swan event too that I'm talking about, we're seeing all these different government agencies randomly picking a new exchange every day to go after and fine for tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
So I think we kind of need that dust to settle a little bit, and we also might go through a phase of an attempt for more regulation on the market. I think that regulation doesn't scare me in the short term because I think governments will quickly realize that they want, crypto and Bitcoin investors to stay in like the US specifically, because I think that's going to be like some of the wealthiest people
Yeah.
that reside in the States. And obviously that just translates to a stronger economy. And they'll realize that they want to keep those people here versus have them scatter to other countries that do have better tax incentives and are more inviting.
And I think sort of the promise of blockchain is this DeFi thing, right? Like, so to not be centralized is very attractive to some, right? Like, is that still the thing? And with this banking crisis, it seems to me like it should be sort of good for blockchain and having your money out of the banks and into this other stuff.
Yeah, you would think that it could be like the perfect environment, right? People are like, okay, I don't trust banks. I don't want to be keeping my funds into banks. Let me choose Bitcoin, which is decentralized, more trustworthy, more transparent. And I think that is absolutely a big possibility that we could see happen and play out. I mean, after we saw what happened with Silicon Valley Bank, it's in companies' best interest to have, Bitcoin for like as a security fund for 6 months out to pay their employees and keep the business running, because what we saw is something that we never anticipated. Just when we thought that, all of the Black Swan events were over, then we see that happen, and then we saw all the crypto companies that were intertwined. BlockFi during the bankruptcy sold off a bunch of their assets that were sitting at SVB, which is
Yeah, it created a run on the run. It made things worse, right? So assuming, and this is my thesis, right? So with the blockchain stuff, I sort of could never figure out how the value proposition worked the first few times I looked at investing in it. And then somehow I just decided, okay, screw it, right at the wrong time, and I'll invest in it. And but my thesis now is that if something can stay alive through the next cycle, it's likely to come back and approach its all-time highs. So if you invest at the low price, you've got a really good chance to have this run back up. And then my theory is, if that happens, I'm going to hopefully pull off my profits and buy real estate.
That was actually my plan. The previous market cycle was I was anticipating more of a blow off top. I didn't think that 70,000 was it. It
Okay.
just behaved very differently than how Bitcoin reached $20,000 the previous market cycle. So that really threw me off in terms of I thought there was a lot more room to the upside.
Thought it was going to 100.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, 100, 150, somewhere in that range. And my plan was to sell some off and get back into real estate. And one thing that I commonly see during these market cycles is that when the bull or when the bear market has been around for a while, a lot of the crypto people are like wishing they had hard assets like real estate.
Yeah. Especially if you're in a place like Puerto Rico where you can still buy some really good value add real estate and increase the cash flow along the way and sort of get to invest your profits into something that is then going to run up again, and it's a hard asset and it can throw off cash flow and everything. So um, hopefully we can partner on something like that,
Yeah,
and that'll be a
absolutely.
lot of fun. I'm very new to it and I only have a very small amount of money invested in it, but uh it's exciting, right? Like I think that it's the way of the future. If you have something else that can help the novice.
Yeah, I would say that one thing that would help me when I first entered the space was what makes Bitcoin so unique is the decentralized aspect of it. And when you start getting into all these altcoins, it loses and mostly are centralized. Most, have the ownership of the majority of the coins is by the founders,
Mm.
which really makes it extremely centralized. And so for me, focusing on Bitcoin, people always ask, is now the right time to buy? In this current phase, if I was someone that was getting in for the first time, I would probably take half of the amount I'd want to invest, dollar cost average over the next, 3 to 6 months. And with that other 50%, probably add on big red days. So that would be my approach, but obviously never financial advice because that's illegal.
But it seems like solid advice, right? Like, so buy the dips and
Yeah.
expect that we're one day going to go back to all-time highs. Tell us about dollar cost averaging. Is
Yeah.
that like you set up an automatic investment monthly or something, or weekly, or?
Yeah, I believe Coinbase has an easy way to do that to dollar cost average. You can, do as little as $5 or $10 a day or even per week, set that up for a period of time. And so it's an automatic. You don't have to worry about doing it manually. And, you're just looking at opportunity. You're not going to be getting during that range the highest or the lowest. You're going to be getting an average.
Yeah.
And so it kind of just mitigates your risk and is a sound way to invest.
I always like to invite my guests to just, if there's something that I've missed for you to put out, if there's one more piece of knowledge that you want to drop.
Yeah, I would just say that I think a lot of people watching these videos, they are familiar with the tax incentives, and this is actually a really great time to move to Puerto Rico. I think that people often pick the wrong time to move here. The best time is during the bear markets.
Yeah.
And we see this huge influx of people wanting to come when Bitcoin's at 50, 60, approaching $70,000.
Yeah.
And this is like quiet time. Not as many people are moving here.
Yeah.
People don't anticipate that. People, somehow forget in the equation that their move date is the price and they're still going to be paying on all those gains. So great time to move to Puerto Rico, opportunity in every direction, every corner for people on the island that have lived here their whole life to people that have never visited. I think that Puerto Rico is just unique and I want to see this place grow and flourish, and it's going to take a lot of really amazing, talented, unique people.
I have a friend on the island who's in the blockchain space, and he sort of had planned to move here, and then everything went down, and now he's sort of happy that he moved here while his investments are low because he's expecting a massive run up. And it's your move date, right? Like,
Yeah.
That's when they sort of assess your asset base and you get your basis from the time that he moves and gets his decree. As if he came with a low basis, as it grows up, that's where he really gets to profit, I guess, or that's where he's going to save on the taxes, right?
Yes.
All right, guys. Well, thank you guys for tuning in, and thanks for watching. God bless you all.